Hello, everybody. Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night podcast. We are broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. I am your host, Don Yazzie, and here with my co host, Darren Yazzie. And today we have a very special guest out of the nation of the Blackfeet in Montana. His name's Rodney Williamson. And here's Darren. Hey, what's up,
Hey,
Darren?
what's going on, guys? Everybody. Yeah, so we got Ronnie Williamson. Yeah, I've been kind of looking forward to this too, bro, because we're talking about it earlier. I binged all his podcast and all that stuff. So I got a bunch of questions. Kind of excited to talk. I never really talked to a Blackfoot myself, so I came across one out here in the world. So just another.
Right. Hey, what's up, Theodore? Right here. Let's see here. That's it.
Oh, hey, what's up?
All right.
Yeah.
Without further ado, here is Rodney Williamson. Oh man, he wants to remain mysterious.
Oh, I'm trying to get the camera to work, but it won't.
Oh, um, let's see here. Huh?
Well,
It says it's working. It says stop cam and mic. I stop it and then I turn it back on, and then it has this lock thing. I don't know.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
Let's that's on your end.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's
I
just
allowed permissions. I don't know.
Hello, myths,
so
monsters, and mullets.
in mullets.
I like
Nice.
that. Wow,
That's a good one.
That's a good one right there. I like that one. So,
Yeah.
Rodney, let me hand the mic off to you. Introduce yourself and your podcast, and you know, just I'll give you the mic. Go ahead, Rodney.
Well, hello. My name is Rod Williamson. I'm from the Blackfeet Res in Montana, and Donovan here. He reached out to me and wanted me to come on the podcast. We're all about Indigenous ghost stories on my end, and I'm in the right place right here with these guys because we all kind of have the same mentality. And shout out to the Miss Monsters and Mullets. He's a guy I've collaborated with too. Good guy. So check out his show too. He's got a good show going on too.
Well, Heidi.
Oh, all right.
Whoa, Melody.
So it's been a long time coming, but like I say, I've actually been looking forward to this. Man, I have a lot of questions, man, about the Blackfoot and everything that creeps and crawls out there that you you had on your show, man. So where would you want to start on this? You want to where was your mindset when you decided to start your own podcast out there?
I think wait. I think we should start off from his side of the things, like from where your beginnings of all your paranormal stories, and
Yeah,
then yeah, because I know I have been listening to your personal stories too, your accounts of seeing ghosts and even the haunted boarding school on the reservation there, and oh man, that's some good stuff. But yeah, go ahead, Rodney.
Um, I guess where my mind was doing all of this to start this all was, going to work. I work as a flooring subcontractor, and I always listen to books, podcasts, and things like that. And I I realized, like, once I start searching, I realized there's really not a lot of native type podcasts out there. There really wasn't. And I actually started listening to this podcast called Strange Familiars, a guy named Timothy Renner. And man, he's got a lot of podcasts. He's got a lot of content out there. He's a guy from Pennsylvania. Anyways,
yeah.
I I wrote to him, emailed him, and said, I have some stories if you want to hear them. And he got back to me, said, yeah. And so I got on his podcast and I told a lot of stories there. And from that moment, after I got done doing that, I listened to them and I thought, you know what, man? Like, I want to hear more. I mean, I know mine, but I want to hear more. And I thought, I I wonder if I could get Tim to have some of the people I know to come on. Then I start thinking, that's kind of a hassle. Why don't I just do one? So I asked him about it, like, how do you do this? Like, how do you go about it? So he kind of became my mentor, and he walked me through the whole process. And once he did, I had my father-in-law as my first guest, and shit, I never looked back, you know. So that's
I
kind of
like
how I thought about it all and started it.
it's really good. Really good episode. Your father-in-laws. Yeah.
Yep. There's
So
a lot of weirdness that, like, man, I got lost in, like, your smiling dogs. We had talk, one person that talked about it too. A dog, human faced dogs,
Yeah.
dog faced humans, or yeah, dude. It's such a weird account because I never really thought too much about it. I only heard like two of them, people that came across these dogs with human faces, man. Like, how wicked is that, dude? And I heard it on your podcast too. Like, whoa, like what's the deal with this now? Like, just, maybe these things run around out there. I don't know. There is.
hmm. Hey Rod, how was it like share with the audience on your experience going to that boarding school on out there in Montana?
Oh yeah. So yeah, that boarding school, dude. So if people don't know, boarding schools today ain't like the boarding schools of our grandfathers, our grandparents and stuff. It ain't like that anymore. They're like the one on our res that we have there. You only go there during the week, right? So you have to go home on the weekends, but you go there all week. And you stay there, you do chores, things like that. Play basketball. What's cool about it is there's like a fun there, right? Like there's money, so you can go out and do things. Like you can go to the shows, like to the movies, things like that. Swimming pools. There's just so much to do for a kid there. And I went down there because, well, I grew up in an alcoholic family too, and it was just crazy at home. When my grandma passed away when I was in the second grade, that's when our whole family just kind of fell apart. She was kind of the glue that held it all together, and my dad must have been in mourning, and it just got crazy after that. Like it got crazy, and not just in my family, the others too. It got
Mhm.
pretty crazy. So, um, without putting any sort of traumatizing images in your mind, I mean, I kind of hate to do it, but seeing your mom fly across the living room, dude, getting landed on in fights, getting crushed, like hiding under beds, I got tired of it. Looking in the fridge and there's only a head of lettuce, dude, and that's what you eat because shit, you're starving. Stealing food from a grocery store, like kind of on your own. Like all of us little kids kind of banded together, and whoever's folks weren't partying, we'd go to their house, and it just kept going like that. We'd always find a sober person's house to stay at on the weekends, and it's just how it was. So I went to boarding school, and anyways, going down there, it was haunted. That's the one thing in all of this I didn't ever think about, that small. I never thought, there's going to be so many spirits that you were going to encounter down there. That's the furthest thing from your mind going through all that,
Mhm.
balloon and all that garbage at home. I wasn't thinking about it. But so the one thing that I always think about being down there was those two little kids that would play in the back room, because on the little boys' end, it's just, you don't have a door. That whole wall where your door would be is not even there. So you walk down the hallway, it's just open cubby holes to the left and to the right, big rooms to the left and to the right, all the way down that hallway on the little boys' end. And it leads to a exit sign in a back door. And there's like an apartment back there. I think that's where like the cooks lived. One of the cooks rented it or something like that. But it never gets opened. It just opens to a hallway and there's a door to their house, but it's this red sign, and that's where those kids would play, is in that back room by that exit sign. And like the first night that I heard them, I thought there were kids playing. I thought there was some, you know I thought they were up messing around, and I thought, well, this is what they do. Well, I want to play too, so I kind of sat up a little bit and I looked out. My bed was right by the hall, like, because there's two beds. We usually just put them in the closet, the headboard in the closet, so we have more room in the room, because there's no doors to the closet either. And anyways, as I kind of peeked down that hallway, and when I'd peek, I'd see like just like the almost about half of them, but the back side of them run past that wall real quick, and I didn't get to see anything else. That's what I saw, and it was that little boy. But I could hear him, and I could hear it. And then I heard a little girl. They were laughing, and you could also hear like real subtle whispering too, but you couldn't make out what they were saying. And so I sat up, put my feet on the floor, and I looked down there, and I looked down the other way because if the matron catches you, they get mad at you. So
You
I'm looking,
spank.
and yeah, you'll get at that paddle. So, anyways, I'm looking down at that exit sign, and after I looked back and I seen them run back across the other side. This time they were kind of like together, but they ran back. I could only see like the very end of them, and I looked around at those other boys, man, and I even got up and I kind of like walked down to those front rooms. Shit, everybody was laying in their beds, man. Like they were all asleep. There was nobody up. So and I'm the last one back. I don't even have a roommate, and I don't even have nobody staying on the other side of me. It's just me at the very end, closest to them. So I go back to my bed and I jump back in the covers and I'm kind of looking out, and I keep hearing them running around and stuff. And that's when I realized, oh shit, these are spirits, man. So I lay down and I put the covers over my head and I just wait. I wait, and I could hear them playing. I could hear their little feet slapping on the hard floor, the spitter
Mhm.
patter of their feet. I hear them running, and I finally end up going to sleep. But one night it got really bad. We were all scared, man. Like we were all scared because they were throwing things. Like there was nothing but like old mattresses and bed frames back there. They were
Mhm.
throwing things, and I don't know what it was. It almost sounded like they were throwing those bed frames around. I don't know, or scooting them or something. I don't know, but you could hear things getting thrown too. But there's nothing back there to throw, so I don't know what they were throwing besides a bed frame and a mattress. I don't know. But that's what it
Mhm.
sounded like, just like things being kind of flung around like a pillow or a bag, or I mean, like a backpack, or that's how it sounded, or something like that. Or even you'd hear like a squeak of the bed frame move, and you kept hearing them laugh and running. I mean, you'd look down there, and you usually you see a little bit of them. No, you see the whole thing, man. That little boy and that little girl chasing each other around down there and
Wow.
laughing like they're playing tag or something. We were scared. We were so scared that we had piled all into that first room. As you're walking down the hallway to the left, that first room right there. I think it was like Victor Dayrider's room or somebody. I don't remember, but we all go in there, and we pile these two beds together. We scoot them together right by the hallway. So, because we were scared, we didn't even want to go back into that room, and we wanted to stay right in the hallway. So, I don't know, we felt safe there, but we all piled in. It was about 12 of us piled in there, and because we were too scared of that sound, and we all wanted to sleep there. And that matron come down to check on us. Hey, you boys, we're back to your bed now. You guys can't be doing this. Get back to your. There's kids down there. There's these little
Mhm.
kids that keep playing, and it's scaring us. And she walked down there, get her keys. We're all watching her. She looks all over. There ain't no little. You guys get back to your rooms. And if I catch you guys up like this again, you're gonna get in trouble. And then we knew what that meant. You're gonna get spanked. So went back to our rooms and we're just laying there. God, they started in again, man, and we just couldn't take it. Man, I remember the first person that ran, this guy named Boner C, and he took off. Once he took off, I took off, and then everybody did. We ran back to that room and we piled those beds back together again. She come down there, we could hear her keys, and she seen us all, and she didn't even say nothing, man. She just turned around and walked back. And then all of a sudden you hear that breaker box click, 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 all those lights start coming on. She come walking down there, hear her keys getting closer to us, act like we are sleeping, and like, stand up. Everybody get up. So we had to put our hands on the wall, and she paddle each one of us. It's like a baseball bat looking thing, but it's flat.
Yeah.
Whack. It's got holes in it.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and whack. We all got it, and we all got sent back to our beds, spanked and getting spooked the rest of that night. That was a miserable night, man.
That's
It was.
miserable, man.
It was.
Well,
Wow.
expose her. What's her name? I was just kidding. I was
No,
just
no,
playing. I was
I
just playing.
was.
Yeah.
Oh man. Hello, Michelle. We had Teresa Vines. Hello. Hello,
Hey, what's
Teresa.
up?
Yeah.
Also,
Then
it's
we
just
have Michelle. Hello, Michelle from Pacific Northwest Oregon. Oregon. Hello. How are you guys doing? Yeah. That's pretty crazy though. And on the I heard you saying that they would have to bring in somebody to smudge the place, huh? Like every year, right?
Yeah, there's a guy that used to clean it out like every summer. He would actually hold different ceremonies down there, and he would clean it out, but it
Hmm.
didn't matter. It would come back, and it was like that at the Chamao Indian School too. There was a guy up
Mm.
there who acted as like the spiritual leader up there too, and I want to say he was some sort of recreation coordinator, like was his real job there. But he ran sweats and he, took care of us spiritually like that. But same there. He would have to smudge that place out when the kids
Mm.
would leave.
Mm.
Real quick, Rod, for for the listeners out there, could you like explain the right way to smudge? Because you have a lot of people out there smudging the wrong way. You know what I mean? Because there's right ways and wrong ways to smudge, and I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind like explaining the difference. You know what I mean?
Well, in our way, there's 7 different smudges that we use. We don't use the what's the Palo Santo. We don't use that one, but we use these others, and so I guess in general terms, when you're smudging, what you're doing is you're getting ready to talk to the creator, right? You're getting ready, and that's part of that smudging, like on a real basic level. You're preparing yourself to speak. Like in Blackfeet, when somebody asks you, "Can you pray for me?" in Blackfeet, what they're saying is, "Will you speak for me?" That's what they're saying. That's how it
Mm,
literally translates. Don't mean
Mm.
pray, and it means, "Can you speak for me?" And so you take that smudge, it could be sweetgrass, it's common when it's sweetgrass, and you smudge off with that. What you're doing is you're you're getting the smell off of you, and you're cleansing yourself here, because those spirits, they don't like how we smell. We stink to them. So
oh,
you're
really?
you're preparing yourself to speak to them. So once you're prepared, they could come to you a little easier. They're not distracted, and because you don't stink. Basically, that's one of the basic kind of things, right? Now,
Mhm.
on the other side of it, when you're using it to say cleanse an area out, you, depending on what it is, you can use sweetgrass. Like I said, that's the most common one is sweetgrass, and that works. It'll cleanse an area. Whereas if it's really bad, well, all right. So sweetgrass in general to cleanse an area. Now, if there's just like say there's those kind that just make noise, like you never see them, like, but they'll bang something, or they won't ever touch you. They're just noisy. Those kind will use a smudge we call ghost smudge for, and get rid of that one. What that'll chase them out. You don't have to get any more, I guess, stronger than that. And then the ones that are in your dreams that are paralyzing you, they might push you. Like at my
Hmm.
dad's house, one time I got pushed into the furnace and it burnt my shoulder, it burnt the skin right off, just rubbed it off. I got
Gee.
pushed. But anyways, those kind, you want to use cedar to go after them. And so when you're smudging, like everybody always, the non-natives in particular always say, "Well, I'm gonna sage this. I'm gonna, sage in our way, in my tribe, it's not really used like that. That's not the go-to for those, because it's really not gonna get rid of them. It might calm them down a little bit, but it's not
Mhm.
gonna really chase them out. Because in our way, we use sage to cleanse death, like after a funeral, or something like that. Will sage off to cleanse death. When you're buried in a traditional way, they line the bottom of the grave with sage, and a lot of times, like when we're cleaning off, usually we'll just roll it into a ball, and then we'll use that and we'll rub ourselves down. Then we'll bury that ball. We won't even light it, we'll bury
Mhm.
it. And then, I mean, you can use sage. You can still smudge with it and everything like that to cleanse yourself from death. But that's really what we use that one for. But the other sages, I mean, the other smudges too. They're like tobacco, right? When you're smoking pipe and you blow that smoke into your hand and you smudge with it. That's another smudge. Tobacco is a smudge in our way too. And so, all the different ones like juniper too. Juniper is a particular type of smudge that
Oh
we use.
yeah.
You can use that to cleanse. Even that cleanses death too. That one does. But I guess in general, that's the basic kind of idea of all of this, is to cleanse
Yeah.
yourself and to get ready to speak to the creator or cleanse
Hmm.
your area.
Hmm. I remember my aunt. She would use juniper a lot, burn it over on the kitchen counter because the ghost there. Oh man, I got a lot of stories on that house, and that's the only way it would calm that little sucker. There's a little boy, a ghost of a boy. I seen him with like my eyes. It's pretty crazy. But hey, Darren, you got any questions for Rod here?
Uh, yeah. Well, did you ever do any looking into these boarding schools? Like, who was the first one to ever talk about it, or like, has it always been that way? The land always been kind of ghostly, you would say?
Well, yeah, I mean, even back, I mean, you can go as far back as your grandparents and they talk about it, like my wife's. So imagine the things that went on there, right? All the horrors that went on there. And
Mm,
just to share a little bit of that, just to kind of set the stage for why I think there's so much activity around these. I'm talking the old ones here, not the new ones, but the old ones. So one time I was exploring those two old dorms that were up in old agency, or we call it mission. I mean, and it's right off the Medicine River. It's north of where I grew up. But anyways, down that way there's an old church, and there was those two old dorms where my grandpa went to, and I had a friend that we used to always kind of explore those with. We got spooked in there too in that girls one. But anyways, when we was in that boys dorm, I remember because it was a big one. It was like tall. It didn't have a very big footprint, but it was tall. It had multiple stories to it. I want to say it had 3 stories to it. And that girls dorm only had 2 stories, but it had a bigger footprint. It was like a T shape, but it was wider and then longer too. So anyways, that boys store, I remember we were kind of walking around in there, and I seen these cubby holes on the wall, and it had these latches to it, like a padlock latch. And I opened it, and I was looking in there, and I was like, "Oh, that small area." It went back kind of deep, about maybe 2.5 feet, but it was short, man. It was only like about a foot tall. It wasn't very very high. And I remember that when we were going home, because my grandpa would go to church there on Sunday, and we'd go play around. We wouldn't sit in there, go play around. And I asked him, I said, "What are those cubby holes for that are on a wall?" And he says, "Oh, that's where they would put us when we spoke Indian. They would put us in there, and they would lock us in there if we spoke. We weren't supposed to speak Indian. That's what they do." And he started talking about it more. He says a lot of times, he says, they had this big ring of keys. He said they would tell us to make fists, and then they would smash those keys off of our knuckles. So that was another punishment. He said, and other times we just have to hold our hands out flat in front of us, palm down, and they'd take a yardstick and they'd slap the back of our hands if we spoke. And there are other stories of kids having to kneel on broomsticks, and things like that for speaking it. But
Wow.
so you remember, I mean, you think about all this, and then my grandma, or my wife's grandma, would talk, and she'd say we would always wonder who's not going to wake up the next day, because we'd all wake up and we would see that there would be one still laying there still, and all of a sudden we realized that they died in the night, and they would take them out and bury them in this graveyard over here. We never get to go to a funeral, nothing. They just take them out of there. And so we always wondered that. We'd hear the kids crying at night, or they'd be sick, and all of a sudden they'd get quiet, and we just never knew who was going to wake up the next morning. So being away from your folks, not getting treatment for being sick, being abused, physically, sexually, mentally, all these things.
All that
Uh,
dark, all that
yeah,
dark. Yeah.
that's why they get attracted to that, these bad spirits that eat that energy. They feed, because they can't eat like we do, but they eat that's the type of thing that nourishes them, those bad ones. And they'll stick around that, because in my mind I always think, well, what if some of these kids never made it out of there, their spirits, what if they're still there, still being tormented, I don't know. I just wonder about it, because even the babies that were born there, you know, from the girls that got, molested and whatnot. They would just go out and, you know,
Throw the
let
babies in the
just
fire. Yeah.
yeah, just kill those babies. So what
Yeah.
if they're still there? You never know, you know.
Mm, yeah.
Wow.
Like that one
Wow.
story where you followed, you thought it was your friend that you followed out, you jumped out the window, right?
Yeah.
On your story. Yeah, yeah. Could you share that one if you don't mind?
Yeah, so we were it was again at that same place, but it was the girls' storm. And see, my friend, he used to always tell me to come out there and play around because he lived right there. His folks had a ranch right near there, and they always went to school there.
Mhm.
And before we went to that girls' storm before, but there's what I think it was the cafeteria because there was like this. It looked like a breakfast bar on one side, and then it looked like a kitchen to the back of that down this dark hallway. That's what it just looked like to us. We never really went down that dark hallway. We were scared of it, and so we only walked around that front part. But we walked all around it looking for like a fire escape, anything to get up to that top floor because we figured the only way up was down that hallway. And we were scared of that hallway because it was so damn dark. I mean, you can look down and not see anything but turn around and see everything just fine because of how the light was. We just couldn't
Mhm.
see in there and it was scary. But as we made our way around the whole building, we realized there's no way in, and we were kind of determined at this point to make it to the top, to go to that top floor because we never been there. That was the only place we never looked at in this whole area. And so I was like, all right, we both went, side by side, standing there looking at that hallway and say, go ahead. Oh, you go ahead. I said, all right, well, stay right here then, stay right behind me. And so I was leading him down and I couldn't see. So I had my hand on the wall and one hand out in front of me. My left hand was on the wall. I'm hugging the left side of this hallway walking down and I'm feeling because I can't see anything. And anyways, I get to this point. Well, about halfway down, must be about 20 feet before I felt the corner of that. But about halfway down that, my buddies kind of grabbed my shirt and hung on to me, and I felt good because I thought he was getting scared and it made me feel better. Well, I'm scared too. Yeah, good. Let's just stick together. Don't let me go is how I was feeling. Kind of give me more courage. And so I kept walking and I get to that corner or whatever, and I pull
Mhm.
my hand around and I look and there's stairs. I could see light coming at the top of those stairs to that top hallway. But straight ahead, man, it kept going. It kept going about another 30, 40 feet. And it was just too dark. And we couldn't, I mean, it opened into like this, like, I don't know, like a wider opening. But that hallway, you could see that dark hallway kept going straight ahead past this like opening at the bottom of these stairs. It got wider right there. But anyways, we didn't go that way. It was just too scary, man. And so we look up at these stairs, and that's when my buddy, he just kind of rushes in front of me, and he runs up those stairs. He didn't say nothing, and like, I just start following him. I start running too because I want to be left down there by myself. So I ran
Mhm.
up next, and I got to the top of those stairs, and when I'm at the top, I see him running to where that light was coming from. So I run down that hallway and I run into that room, and what stairs one whole wall facing out is just busted down. It's all condemned. This building's old. It smells like mildew, and mold and stuff, and
Yeah.
half the ceilings caved in, and there's just rubble everywhere on the floor. All in that area is rubble. It's not clear. You have to kind of step over it all. And so I do that. I go out and I see him. He already jumped down onto the roof of this little shed that had like this chimney sticking out of it. He jumps down onto that and then he gets on his belly, and I see him. I could just see his hands where he hung drop. He dropped down, and I thought, oh, that's high, man. That's like really, really high. It must have been 10 feet for us. That was high, just third grade. And he walks behind that tree. There's a tree there too. He walked behind it like he was just going to keep walking, but he never
Mhm.
came out from behind that tree. And so when he went behind that tree, that's when I hollered down at him. I said, hey, did that sting your feet? And I didn't hear anything.
That's
It's like, wait a
mhm.
minute. Did that sting your feet? Joe, where are you? Like, I start looking, like, holy shit, where did he go? So I looked down the other way, like to my left and to my right, to the sides of that building to see if he went, because maybe I didn't see because my vision was obstructed by the top of that roof of that shed. I couldn't see if he was right up next to the shed. I wouldn't have been able to see him. So I thought maybe he went left or right and he's going down that building somewhere. I could see to the left, though. That's the front of the building. He didn't go that way because I could see. And so I start looking to my right a little more. And I was like, you know what, the hell with it. I'm going to come out. I'm going to get out of here. So I did the same thing he did. I copied him, jumped down from that, and then I hung drop. And, it did sting my feet when I landed. I was still shaking out my feet, and I was walking around that tree looking for him. And as soon as I got around that tree, I look up because I hear him. Hey, Rod, did that sting your feet? Like, holy shit. Right from where I come from. And there's no way he could have got up there. He went through that hallway again. The time-wise, there's no way he could have made it that fast. There's just no way.
Yeah,
and so
that's crazy.
when he yelled at me like that and I seen him up there, heck, I took off, man. I just ran. And I ran to the church with my grandpa and I sat in there. But when it was done, we were going out because his folks sat right by the door and back there, and he was sitting by them. And we were going out, and he was motioning me over to talk to him. Like my grandpa and his folks stayed at the top of the stairs, but he was down at the bottom. And like, come here. Went down there. He's like, shit, why'd you leave me? Like, I don't know, man. And I told him the whole story, and he said, he says, wait, no. He says, I lost you going down that hallway. Like, I didn't run ahead of you. I go, what the? No, man, that was you. That's why it scared me, And he says, no, when we were going down that hallway, at one point I lost you. But I just kept going, and I went through, and I seen light at the top of those stairs, and I went out, and I seen you at the bottom. Like, no, man, you ran ahead of me. I followed you out. But it wasn't him. It was that spirit that, looks like
So the whole time, like when you were going down that hallway, you felt the hand on you. So that wasn't your friend, huh?
No.
That's why I kind of busted out laughing. I was like, that wasn't your friend.
It wasn't.
That's pretty crazy, man. Do you think they're like attracted to like children, like the innocence because we're innocent in mind, or what do you think about that, Rod?
Well, children are they're really powerful with their thoughts, kids, because they don't have that doubt yet, and they don't have the corruption that you kind of develop,
Right.
throughout your life. So they're more, how do I say it? They're more connected to that side than we are, but they just don't know it. They don't know.
Mhm.
Like, they say that kid prayers are really, really powerful, and they
Yeah,
just they don't
sure
know.
is.
But I think that's why a lot of times spirits come around them too, is because they know that they could see them. And, kids don't question anything. They'll just say what's there. Like, oh, look at, there's a man. And you'll look and not see anything, or
Yeah.
look at that or whatever, and they'll just say what it is, and or whatever makes sense to them. They
Hmm.
can see those things where we can't. If you ever watch babies too, sometimes, like, I got 6 kids, and you watch these babies, sometimes they're playing, like trying to play with somebody that's not there. We've seen that,
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys have, but that's a thing. It's weird.
Yeah. It's pretty strange, man. It's pretty strange. Wow. Darren, you got any questions? You got?
Oh yes. In on the Blackfoot reservation out there, you mentioned goatmen. I guess it's something that just newly popped up. Do you know?
One of my
I'm
favorite
kind of curious.
characters.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that guy too myself, and just being new too to the area. Like, how do you go about it?
Well, that goat man is, when I spoke to one of my brothers about it, it came here when the whiskey runners come. Before that, it wasn't on our res, because there's no old stories about this goat man. There's none that I know of, and that he knows of.
Mm,
There's none. Like, you don't hear of any of these things. You hear of a lot of other stuff, but never
Hmm.
this. And so, like, a lot of times when there are people partying and stuff, that's when it shows up. Or there are people that are gambling or things like that. Because he'll even offer them money to go gamble. Here, you want this? You
yeah,
can go in there and
yeah,
gamble.
yeah. I
Yeah.
heard the first account I heard was I think it was this goat man used to go into a casino out there in Pima, out there in the reservation out there, and he used to, show everybody a good time, give people money to gamble, buy them beer. Then he would go outside and he would walk like a goat and turn into a goat right there in front of everybody. Man, this character's kind of odd. He does kind of. I'm not sure what he's in for, but yeah,
Yeah,
goat man.
I was chatting with the Hikira, Apache tribal member, Avery. I asked him the same thing. I was like, "Do you think the goat man is more of a spirit or like an organic creature?" And he said he actually tracked them, and he's going to share that story with us too. And he said that
Hmm.
same thing. He said he thinks that it was brought in with the alcohol as well.
Huh.
And it's really interesting, like how each of us all connect that dots. And even in the Bible, he's known as a sadist, the half man, half goat. And
Yeah.
God
The
actually, yeah, he actually tells the children of Israel, "I'll clear out the sadist before you get there." He even mentions Bigfoot in the Bible too, so which is pretty cool. Oh yeah, how what about Bigfoot? I like that story with your wife where she had Bigfoot encounter one day.
Yeah,
That one's pretty
yeah.
interesting one too. You
Well,
guys got
wait.
a lot of Bigfoot stories up there. But yeah, go ahead, Rod. This is your
Yeah, there
show.
is a lot. But going back to that goat man real quick,
Hmm.
one of these uh, a guest that I had on before, she got in contact with me again recently, and she says, "Hey, I got another story for you about this Bigfoot." And it's not her story, but the people that have this story said it's okay to share it, and she said she might try to get them to come on and my podcast
hmm.
and tell it. But I don't know the whole thing in detail, so I'll just give like a Cliff Notes version of it, I guess. A guy seen it up in Alaska. He seen it, and he shot it, and it
Oh,
was it was a half man and a half goat, and he shot it. And
Yeah.
in their way, they always believe whatever you shoot, you gotta skin it. You gotta skin it. That's what they say. So he
wow.
skinned this thing, and I don't know what did he skin the man too, or just the goat part? That's part I don't know.
Wow.
Like, but he skinned
Wow.
it, and he had that hide hanging up, and the body was there too. And I don't, what kind of nerve do you have to do that? His nerves of steel. But anyways, he gets up the next morning. He's letting that hide hang up for a day or whatever. But he goes
Mhm.
out there, and the hide's gone, the man's gone. It's just a weird story. So I think they can be physical and spirit as well. I think they're both. They can do both. But
Yeah.
I don't,
Hmm.
yeah, but the Bigfoot thing, when my wife seen that, it was a small one, right? It was a small one, and some notable things about that stick out to me is I wasn't I wasn't there. I was in town, and we had gotten into an argument, and she went for a walk. That's how it all started. And so if you've heard enough of these Bigfoot accounts, there's quite a few that start like that. The woman's alone, the man left, and
Oh
then
yeah.
they
Hmm.
come out and they start, So that's what happened here. And she goes down, she's just picking peppermint and sweetgrass down in this little slough. It's like a little wet area, almost looks swampy in there. It's not a
Mhm.
swamp, it's because it's Montana. It's not like too big of a swampy area, but kind of how it looks. Anyways, um, all of a sudden it gets quiet. She says, it gets really quiet. She said she couldn't hear the, the insects. She couldn't hear the river. It just got really quiet all of a sudden. And that's what got her attention. So she started looking around like, oh, there's something here. What the hell's going on? And that's when she hears a tree swooshing, like the leaves rustling together, but above her,
Mhm.
and off a little ways, and so she looks up, and she brought me to this place where it happened, and she looked at a 45-degree angle up, roughly. That's where it was at, and the tree across there's like a little dirt road there. It was in that tree right across from that slough, because that slough's just right by that dirt road. And she looked up, and there was one standing up there. He was standing on a branch, but he had his hands reaching up above him, holding the branch above his head, and he was swaying his body and making that whole tree sway. A big tree. It's like
Heavy
the
guy.
top of it must be about 40 feet up. Great big old cottonwood, and he's standing on those thick branches that are up around there. And anyways, as she looks up at him, he stops swaying and he looks down at her. And when he looked at her, she said he gave her this look like, should I or should I not? Like he was contemplating something. And she's just frozen, sitting there staring at him, eye to eye. And I asked her, like, well, what did he look like? Like, did he look human or ape? She said, no, he looked more human, I guess. She says, but he wasn't very tall, but she said he was really like stout, like strong. She says, I don't know how he could have moved that whole tree the way he was doing it, but he
Real
did.
heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was strong. She said it
Hmm.
just the way I could see it. And she said he jumps, all of a sudden he jumps from that tree. Must have been about, I don't know, 30 feet up, 20 feet up, something like that. He jumps down, like just steps off that branch and
Hmm.
then lands in the trees, the bushes where you can't really see. And that's when she just broke and ran. She starts running down that dirt road. You got to go through one clearing. Um, that's like our side where we'd picnic, and then the neighbor just right up the road. There's another clearing right through some trees where they would always have like sweats and picnics and stuff. And so she had to go through those two clearings to get up to that road where it leads up back up to the house. And as she's running the whole time, she said it's pacing her. It's right beside her in those trees, like right there. She could hear it, but she couldn't see it. She was just in a panic, and she's just running for all she's worth, trying to get out of there. She
Hmm.
gets all the way up to through the second clearing. It's still in those trees. You got to cross through those bushes too. They're like choke cherry trees, and this bunch of shrubs and stuff. And but that road cuts right through it. So she's running up that little hill, and that's when those dogs met her right there. She says, "Oh man, I've been so happy to see your uncle's dogs." They come running down, and they already knew there was something, and they were barking, and they said whatever it was, they chased for a little ways, but they came back. And I thought that was weird because those dogs, they don't ever stop. They don't ever stop. They're relentless. They will not quit until they either get bored or they come back with full of porcupine quills. They just
Something
don't.
random. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what it was. I think they
Fast.
got scared. I honestly think it stopped and stood them off because they
Hmm.
came back. They got scared. They came back. That's what
Wow.
I think. Because
Jeez.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know, but yeah,
Wow.
because
yeah,
As the Go ahead, Darren.
yeah. It's a almost a constant uh, story too with women and Bigfoot. For some reason, these Bigfoot characters always seem to be attracted to women like this. I had a story back at my reservation of a group full of Apache women getting chased out by a Bigfoot during Pinyon season. So I don't know what he's in for, but he's got to warn the women to take care of themselves. Carry firearm or something.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Rod, one of your podcasts, I really liked that one story of that police officer where he was scaring the guy in the gas station with the mask, and then the whole time the camera was watching them, and a mysterious figure with a hat and pointy boots that was laughing on the roof and glided down and went with somebody in his vehicle. Could you share with that story with the audience as well, if you don't mind?
yeah. So my buddy that I grew up with, geez, we even served in the military together, same platoon and everything. I don't know how I
Cool.
got lucky with that, but
Hmm.
anyways, he uh he became a cop because his dad was a cop, right? So he became a cop when he left the military. And one of these nights, he said, he thinks there's something going on. He thinks it was prom or something like that. But this must have been before they kind of made it a dry res when things like that would go down. But there was a lot of traffic out, a lot of people out, stuff like that. And uh, one of his buddies, he says, "Hey man, I got this mask. Let's pull up to that gas station." I got a friend that works in there. I'll scare him, and then just park way back there. I'll get off. I'll run over there, and I'll put this. It was a devil mask, like a devil. He says I'll put it on, and I'll knock and peek in that window at him. So they did that and start laughing. That guy got pumped scared, and he jumps back in that car. They take off, and it's his police cruiser, and he's raising hell with them. So he takes his car, makes a couple more spins through town, and says, "Do it again." He goes over and he does it again, and again it scares the hell out of that guy. There used to be this in the back of that gas station. There was a window where you could. I don't remember what you used to do right there. I think you'd prepay there at that window for gas. Because there's other pumps back there, and anyways, that's where that guy was at, so that's what they were doing to him. And then finally they get a call, because that guy was a cop too that was doing that. But they get a call that there was a motor vehicle accident just outside of town. And so they go out, and by the time they get there, there's already a highway patrolman there, kind of taking charge of the scene. And he said he can see people kind of looking around out in this field a little bit with flashlights. It was night. And they get there and they go out to see what they could do to help. And that guy tells them, go back to the gas station and see if you can get any of their video footage. We'll see who is here, if it's the same guy. So give him his description, and he gave him the description. That guy said, "Yeah, take this over there in his car and everything, and see if he can find him on camera there." And so he goes over and he asks that guy that's working in there if he can find this. And the guy said, "Yeah, well, just give me a minute. I'll call you." And they go for take a couple more cruises through town, just patrolling. And before long, he gets a call to go back. When they go back there, he says, "Yeah, I found that description of that guy you're talking about in that car too." He says, "But before I show you that, man, I gotta show you this." And he shows his buddy that camera that's on top. There's two cameras on top, from what I understand. I think there was more than that too. But anyways, these two cameras, one was in back, and that's what you're talking about. The guy jumps out of the car, puts that devil mask on, and they're showing it. And that man that was standing up there, had cowboy hat on, trench coat, his boots and stuff, and he just kind of throws his head back like he's laughing at what they did. And next thing you know, he says it pans to the front, and he's showing him this one in the front, and that same man is standing up there, and he's just watching all these cars go by, just watching them. Finally, he just zeroes in on this one, full attention on this one that pulls into the gas bowser there. The guy gets off, walks into the store, and he's just watching that guy, like really interested in this one. And so that guy goes in the store, and they show the camera footage too. Yeah, he goes in and he buys some beer, pays for it, and he goes out. Must have prepaid for gas too, because he goes out and starts pumping his gas. Well, as he's paying for gas and he's in the store, you can see the camera on that man. He steps off the roof and floats halfway down to that car, and about halfway he turns into this green light, like a orb, or like just a ball of light green, and he floats the rest of the way to that car. And the camera, you could see that back door open and that green light go in and get in the back, and then that door close. And that guy pumps his gas, and then he leaves. He jumps in his car and he heads out. Right after that, there was a wreck, and so he goes back out and tells that guy what they saw. Like, yeah, he was there. He got beer and everything. He says, "I sent you there because he kept saying, hey, where's that guy at? There was a guy with me. But there wasn't, and that guy passed away when they took him to the hospital. His wounds were too bad, and he passed away."
Jeez.
But they had to get to the bottom of it to see if there was really, in fact, another passenger that they had to search for in that field,
Unexplained, huh? That just went on the unexplained. That's sad.
They never found nothing, but it was that goat. That's that one they call a goat man. Like he can look like a man too. That's that one that shows up in the bars and stuff.
That's the same guy telling you that story where they chased the goat man and into this cave, and he was trying to wave them to come in, and they didn't want to. That one's another good one too, man. Whew.
Yep.
Man,
Yeah.
it sounds like you guys have the same correlation going on in Montana here on the Navajo Nation. It sounds really, sounds really familiar. That's pretty awesome. Darren,
Bro.
you have any questions?
Yes. For this Bigfoot, do you guys does the Blackfeet have a name for it in your language?
Yeah, we one of
Guys.
the words is Imoyitapi, and it just means hairy man. Or the other way to say it is it's really an old way to say it, but it means nowhere people. And there's even another one where it's referred to. It just simply means don't know where they come from.
Mm,
So there's a few
Huh.
different ways you
yeah.
talk about them.
And
Hmm.
you guys have the little people up there too. Huh.
Yeah,
You guys got a lot of them up there too. Stories. We definitely need to schedule you in for a part two. There's
yeah.
all kinds of stories that I'm still binging on your podcast, and Darren here, he said he finished the whole thing.
Yeah. Took me about a week and a half, but
Mm,
I
Damn.
got it all done. But yeah, really good stuff. Really good ghost stories. Man, it seems like that whole Blackfoot reservation is just out of control with freaking ghost stories. Freaking we got Bigfoot, goat men, uh, these drunken spirits
aliens.
as referred to. Man,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
good stuff, man. Well, not
Wasn't
Even the
yeah.
talking owls too. I like. Oh, sorry, Darren. Because over here on the Navajo Nation, like during the genocide, we had the owls and the ravens tell us in Navajo saying, "Run, run, they're coming." So we all had to split on different trails. See, like the son would go that way, the daughter would go that way, the father would go that way, the mother would go that way. So they would all split on trails, and the ravens and the owls will be telling them to come this way, go this way, and they'd be telling them
uh,
how
Yeah.
to hide. Yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of correlations between our tribes as well. Just listening, and I'm over here like, oh my gosh, wish I can add my 2 cents into you guys on that episode. So
Yeah.
I really like that
For
episode
real.
as well. hmm Um,
Yeah.
yeah, you got
Just
any other questions there?
uh you know for these talking animals too are just one of the first ones I heard. Talking uh animals talking to Blackfoot, that I was kind of just amazed too. I was like, whoa, that's
Oh
crazy
yeah,
stories of animals
yeah.
talking. And
I got.
that's not a
Hmm
they have a story in the Bible too of a talking donkey too. So I was like,
Oh,
well,
Balaam.
yeah.
Yeah, that
So
was
I was like,
Balaam.
oh, yep,
My grandpa told me, I told him like, what are the signs like towards the end of this world? He said that one of the signs is when the animals start speaking our language again. It could be speaking Blackfeet, could be speaking, a native tongue. And back in the days, we used to have bears chat with us a lot too in Navajo. And there's uh, I have this friend, he was on your podcast. You guys talked about the horseman, and he shared a story that these people swore up and down that they spoke Apache. And then we have this another story on Navajo Nation. They spoke Navajo as well, but what they had in common was the Bigfoot speaking sound like an old raspy man's voice, and
mm,
he's trying to chat. Yeah. Um, yeah, other than that though, that's one of the stories that I'm trying to get him on our podcast as well. Oh man. One of your dad's your father-in-law's story on that where he said that he's seen a native man all in buckskin come in, you know,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, that one's pretty crazy because like in Chuska Mountains, there's this lady that flies around. Her whole body is glowing. She's in like white buckskin and seashells necklace. So she's like dressed from the old time, and she's flying around over vehicles screaming. You know, like strange
mm,
stuff like that happens too. Yeah. And especially the boarding schools. I think was it Darren? You told me that over in Crystal, New Mexico, like the little people were raising hell in the dormitory, throwing mattresses around and beds around too. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
These little people, man, it's kind of a character to myself. Actually, we actually have a arrowhead from them we found too. Little arrowhead, but
Oh
Oh,
smaller
snap.
than a penny. And we're
oh,
like, whoa, like, oh, check this out. Like, man, it is crazy to come across something like that. But man, they're out there too. I think I have a picture on my phone. If you guys want to take a look at it, I shared it on the was it Ghost Stories from the Res, stuff
Oh
like
man,
that. Man, I kind of
I
spread
gotta
it.
check that out. I gotta check that out.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, obviously these little people they're pretty much everywhere too. All these it seems like every uh, tribe has these little people all the way down to South America. Canada.
Mm.
They all have different names too. So even
Mm.
I have a story of a old grandma uh, on her deathbed. She told her kids to take care of the little people that used to stop by, and she described them as just little Navajo, traditionally dressed Navajo man and woman. And she said, like, cut him watermelon and give him like food on a little plate that her daughter Barbie set. Little dishes and stuff that she used to trade stuff like that, tobacco or herbs, tea, and they used to
Mm.
talk to each other like that.
Yeah,
Man, yeah, it's crazy, crazy stuff.
jeez. Yeah, I chatted with a guy from TikTok. He's like a horse trainer, really traditional Navajo guy. He's from like Black Mesa area. Same thing. He said the little people they're like dressed in the old Navajo deity, the Yebiche
Mm,
masks. Yep, he
mm.
said they had the same mask on. They were walking on his chest, and he couldn't move. And they're walking out the door. He barely sat up, and he was trying to follow them. Yeah, and he said they walked all the way outside, and they walked around the house, and they were gone. He said there was a few of them. He said they all were dressed individually different, but like from the ceremonial masks, which is really interesting. Yeah.
oh. Some of the one of the stranger stories I've heard actually come from a Cree from Canada, one of my friends, and he said he said his cousin was out hunting in the mountains there, and he was on horseback, and he always went out like that and hunted. It wasn't nothing big. It was a day hunt, just be out there for the day and come back. And on his way back, he didn't get nothing. So he was walking back out of there on his horse, and he seen this cave that he never seen before. He never really noticed it. He got curious, so he stopped and he put a peg in the ground and he tied his horse up to it. And he walked in that cave. He said it wasn't a very big cave. It went back a little ways, so he followed it all the way back. And he was just looking around in there. Got to the end of it. This is odd. And he started walking back out. And when he turned around, there was an owl kind of sitting on a little outcropping of a rock on the wall. It was sitting there looking at him. And he stopped and he's looking at it. Like, what the hell? Then it just kind of flies out, land a little bit ahead of him again. And he's kept following it, going back out there. It kept doing that. Finally, it flew out, and when it flew out, he went out to look at his horse. He's like, "Holy shit, what's wrong with this horse? That horse just looks skinny." He said, in that whole area around he had him pegged in was just all the grass was ate already, and that horse looked thin. And so he gets his horse off of that, and he starts bringing him back home. He gets back home, and his family are just upset but also really happy to see him. Oh, geez, you're back. We didn't know what happened. We didn't know. He's like, what do you mean? I just left for today. I'm just coming back. You've been gone a week. We were worried about
Oh,
you.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Just
thought
real
that was strange.
yeah.
trixies, huh? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy. They do tricksies a lot like that, tricksies little
yeah,
guys. But hey,
yeah.
guys, Rod, July, I want to bring you back on for part two because there's a lot of stories you guys got up in
Mm,
there. We love it. Darren, thank you. Great job. And I'm gonna have to end our live stream here for part one with Rod Williamson of Blackfeet Nation in Montana. Um, yeah, so say laters, everybody. I'm gonna
All right.
kick us
all
all
right,
out.
all right.
All right.
Yeah,
Go now.
see
Thank
ya.
you
Thanks
guys.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
See you there. Stay on. All right. Thank you for tuning into Don't Whistle at Night. We have been broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Please like and subscribe and share. You guys have a great one. Bye.